I mean, right now we're already in sort of a first world population decline. This would be the ideal time to start moving to a more agriculturally centered society. Whereas if we allow the population worldwide to continue to grow and this technology to allow us to create more and more dense populations, what happens when this ecosystem finally cannot support us? You're going to have apocalyptic levels of die-off.
I would just say that's simply untrue. If we look at statistics about how population trends are and what causes populations, the number one thing that we saw population growth to slip off is like education and urban development. This happens from cities being produced. Very simply, I would argue the agrarian community would cause populations to grow probably quicker than city development, as well as I would argue that that would actually push us probably over our limit of being able to hold planet, because we have less land to be able to use for food use, because essentially we're having to spread people out, which causes more homes to be built. For example, building 100 cottages takes up more than 100 apartment building. So what we end up seeing is we're spreading people out. We're creating less, land for food use, things like this. We're going to see a society that pretty much is going to grow quicker, because the things that we see that cause, slow population growth, education, medical access, et cetera, things that can only come with the specialization that we see from cities, and the cities that lead to technological growth. That's the only way we're going to be able to curb this overpopulation and mass die-off. I would say all this is going to do is it's probably going to bring it to a closer peak point that's probably going to cause more damage immediately and down the line.
Oh, so this is sorry, were you going to say something?
I do. I have a clarification for Lucian and also for Ozzy. I'm just curious about, you guys are talking about a die-off, and you kind of agreed with his point there, but aren't we in the United States under population level replacement right now?
I would say exactly, and I would say we see this in the U.S. because we have the specialization that cities allow and the exact education and medical use we see. We're seeing this all over the West. There's going to still be growth across Africa, South America, Southeast, and even East Asia. This growth is going to happen, but it's still going to cap out eventually at, I've seen scales that go from 9 billion to 15 billion, but pretty much all of those are manageable populations essentially.
Yeah, go ahead, Ozzy. I'm sorry, I had that clarification for you too. I was just curious.
Well, my first point on that is, so even though that native population in the U.S. is declining, obviously overall population is increasing alarmingly. Now you could solve that with an immigration moratorium, et cetera, things like that. Okay, let's say we actually do have a massive conservative victory. We go back to a kind of more traditionalist religious society. People start having kids because we ban abortion, because we ban contraception. Now we have a population issue, and now you're right back to square one. Right now we're going to have a growing population because our native population is more traditional, is more conservative. And ultimately, we're just going to be back to the same conversation that we're having right now is, we see population growth. Where does this go in the logical conclusion? And to go off that, when you talk about, how we're going to solve an overpopulation crisis, you're kind of using the same arguments that, your very far left NWO types are using. We need to move people into the cities, stack them one on top of the other in boxes in their, wage cages. And we get to a different argument of, human dignity. Is this the way that people are supposed to live? And if we look at any of the way that technology is heading, with things like automation, things like genetic modification, is this really the way that we're intended to live in harmony with nature? Is this how we're supposed to live in harmony with God? Are we supposed to be basically slaves to this technological system? Are we supposed to abandon our natural drive to create things, to do labor? Or are we going to let robots do all of that for us? Are we going to, watch Netflix for 18 hours a day and then sleep, and then that's just what we have in store for the future? Is that our ultimate vision? And that's one of the things that I think that right-wingers need to seriously be considering is, do we want to live in a Brave New World type scenario, or do we want to, have this actual vision of something really classical, something really great? If you imagine kind of, Greek pastoralism, city-states, that kind of vision, harkening back to a classical era. I mean, that's what we can aspire to if we aren't limited to this idea that technology has to keep progressing.